Alright fellas, I'm back, and as always we have more news to cover, so why don't we get into it. As always, I'll divide it into new handheld slash new hardware first, and then buyer advice, and then some upgrades, bugs, fixes, and then user creations. At the end I'll do something new where I'll showcase some new content creators I found. I mean, they're not new, but I found them. Okay. As always, timestamps will be in the bottom so you can skip around. Alright, first off, we have an article here from Retro Dodo posted by Cake is Great. We have the Sugar Cubes X Jelly handheld controller. So what this is it's a shell that is for a very tiny phone. The phone is the Unihertz Jelly Star. It's a very tiny phone. Yeah, I don't know if this is going to have mass appeal because you have to have the phone for this to be useful. Also, this is from Sugar Cubes, and if you remember the announcement before in previous news, the Sugar Cubes X Small Universe, whatever it was, handheld, was a vertical form factor, and it had a square screen that would rotate. Yeah, it sounds like vaporware. I'm not sure if that's going to come out. If it does, that's awesome. If this comes out, that's great too. We'll know if they're serious or not. But yeah, this is more for a niche audience. Now we have news that the Switch 2 will supposedly feature an 8-inch LCD screen. The article is from Bloomberg. And I'm not sure how I feel about this personally speaking. I used to have a Switch and I really liked the form factor and how it felt. It was a nice mix between it being large enough yet small enough to be portable. And 8 inches is huge. If you look at RetroSizer, my goodness, that is a huge device. So the reason why I don't like the Steam Deck as much for carrying it outside is that it's massive. It's very light for its size and it feels very good, but like it's too big. Where are you gonna put that? You can't put it in your pocket. Now you have to bring like a backpack. It's not very portable, so I like having a smaller device if I'm actually taking it outside. And 8 inches is kind of defeat that purpose. So hopefully this is not true. Hopefully this is a rumor. I forgot to give credit. That was posted by LX-M. Alright, now we have this article posted by Wade Turtle, and it was saying that there's an article explaining how the DS Flip style will work. And I read it, and it didn't really explain it unless I missed something. It says the article was from Time Extension. Yeah, look, I would really like a new DS form factor with like high-res screens and more powerful hardware so you can upscale it to those screens. But the reality is this is from AYANEO, and it'll most likely cost around $1,000, maybe $700 to about $1,000. And I would rather just buy a DS from Japan and just mod it at that point. Like you can get a pretty good quality new Nintendo 3DS or new Nintendo 3DS XL from Japan for about $250 shipped if it's in really good condition. I'd rather buy that than this. This is gonna break the bank. I don't have that much money. If I got one for free for review, of course I'll take it. But like, I don't know that many people who are gonna buy this other than people who really like the DS and people who have a lot of money. But yeah, this is cool. I just wish it was cheaper. Alright, now we have a new console, and it is the AOKZOE A2. This is from Retro Gamecore. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with the channel already, but he has a pretty good in-depth review. It features a Ryzen 7840U. You can watch the review for the details. Pretty much said that it's very powerful, but it's pretty expensive, and there's a few cons. And if you look at the price on AOK site, it's $800 for the base model, which has 32 gigabytes of RAM and 512 gigabytes of hard disk space. So that's pretty nice that the base model is starting there instead of like 16 gigabytes of RAM. That's what they usually do, and 256 or 512 gigabytes of hard drive space. But yeah, this is expensive. At this point, you know, if you wanted more power, you can go for a ROG Ally Z1 Extreme, Lenovo Legion Go. You can get those refurbished from Best Buy for about $650 for the Lenovo and about $400 for the ROG Ally. I mean, if we ignore the problem with the SD ports, the micro SD ports on the ROG Ally, this is very expensive. I'd rather have a Steam Deck OLED than buy this. But this is for people who want that power. The 708040U is great, and for that price point, you know, it's actually okay. But it's just like at that point, you know, like there's so many other things you could get that are very similar in terms of performance, but lower in price. But yeah, just letting people know because as always, some people really like certain handhelds, like it speaks to them. So I'm not gonna guess like what someone will like. I'm just trying to my best to notify people that a handheld exists and then some possible drawbacks or some possible pros. Okay, now we have this article linked by Mofo Pro, and it was from Deserto. As always, take everything you see online with a grain of salt because everything can be fake nowadays. I do try to do a little bit of research to verify if it's true or not, but you know, anyone can be fooled these days, especially with AI generated stuff. Okay, this article is saying that the Asus ROG Ally 2 will be coming sometime in 2024, and the article talks about the VP talking about bringing a new iteration of the ROG Ally. And this took me by surprise because it hasn't been that long, I feel like, since the ROG Ally has come out, and it seems a little bit too soon to release a new iteration. But hopefully the only thing I'm looking forward to is the micro SD card problem being fixed. If you don't know, the way they routed the cooling system, it brings the heat right over the micro SD port, and no matter which model you have, it will eventually kill the micro SD card itself or the port itself. So that is a huge flaw, and I don't know how they overlooked that. I'm assuming they thought no one would use the micro SD card maybe. Another thing is, while I like having Windows on a handheld in that it's very easy to run games that just don't run on Proton, it you know, it's a little bit of a hassle to use Windows in a handheld. It's just, unless you have a trackpad or a mouse and keyboard attached, it's gonna be a pain. You are gonna run into an issue somewhere along the way where you need to pull out the mouse and keyboard. I just wish Microsoft would fix the user interface for handhelds, like actually support a built-in handheld mode. I think that would make it great. Other than that, there are a lot of fans of the ROG Ally, so this may interest them. Okay, here we have not necessarily something very new, but the Raspberry Pi 5 is relatively new and not talked about a lot. And this video is from the Retro Tech Dad, and he showcases a lot of GameCube games and shows how they run. And for the most part, they run pretty well. So if you want to set up an emulation station on Raspberry Pi, you can do it right now. I will say though, depending on how much you're getting these Raspberry Pi 5s for, buying a mini PC isn't too bad either. There's some mini PCs around the same price point that offer the same performance. The Raspberry Pi though is a lot handier if you want to tinker around and do different things. A lot of R33S reviews are coming out. This one's from Retrospect. I saw a lot of other channels covering it. And essentially what you can get from these reviews is that it's a R36S inside a Miyoo mini body. And a lot of people have been saying that it feels pretty okay. So I think that's awesome. A Miyoo mini with more performance. The software side is obviously going to be a little bit rough in that it's not really out yet, but there are already ports of operating systems available for it. For example, this commenter, Rooksy Tech, said a Gel OS test build is now available. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Personally, I don't really care as long as it's cheap and it runs my games. So more competition is a good thing. All right, this is a post from Alternative Spite 11. There is a RetroPie custom build where there's a board and you drop a RetroPie on it and then it fits in the Game Boy Color body. Now this is great for tinkering. This article is from Tom's Hardware. But do keep in mind that for just playing from the consumer side, it's not the best in that it'll be a little bit slow and buying a dedicated handheld will be a lot better. But for people who like tinkering, this is another option to have Game Boy Color. Okay, finally, we have some news here. Oh, these windows are annoying. Finally, we have here that the AYANEO Next Lite, which I covered earlier, will no longer ship with Steam OS or Holo ISO. It'll ship with Windows 11 instead. I don't know if they did this intentionally debating people. This is posted by Mr. Mr. MF on the Steam Deck subreddit, and the original article was from gamingonlinux.com. And yeah, I don't know. Personally, I don't really care as long as you can install SteamOS or Hello ISO on it, which the manufacturer AYANEO claims that they will have the ISO available on their website to download. So yeah, there you have it. So if you're looking forward to it and you're like, oh darn, Windows 11, then you can not buy it. But if you are fine with installing yourself, it should be available. But as always, I would wait for the actual release. I don't trust any news outlets. I don't trust any manufacturer that promises things. I wait and see what they actually do, because a lot of people will lie. It's just a sad fact. Also, one thing to be wary about is the fact that a lot of these companies will use shills in the comment sections of forums that will only say positive things about the product and defend the product. Now, in my opinion, I really like these handhelds. I like all of them. If I had money, I would buy all of them for the sake of reviewing them and making coverage for them. I just like to have them too, but they're not perfect. This field isn't perfect. A lot of them have a lot of problems and customer service is spotty at best. So, take everything with a grain of salt. All right, we're moving on to buyer advice. So we have one post here today from the Ziller95 asking about the R33S SD card, and do I really need to change the SD cards? The answer is yes, you always need to change it. It's not a matter of will my SD card become corrupted, it's a matter of when. So there's so many posts in the subreddit where people ignore this advice and they keep playing their 36S or any console with the stock SD card, and they come back later and they're like, oh, my games aren't running, where's my operating system? And they have all these issues that pretty much boil down to the SD card being corrupted. I know it's a lot of money to spend extra on an SD card, but it is worth the money because you will have your save files and your games and your operating system last. Just make sure you don't buy a counterfeit SD card, because then you're just getting the same thing as the stock. Alright, now we're moving on to updates, bugs, and fixes. This one's from Noricus on the R36S. It's a PSA post. If you have an R36S and you update it to the latest ArkOS using the OTA update or on the air update, it will brick the device seemingly. So it'll boot to like a white flashing screen. And the reason why is the device thinks it's a RG351MP instead of R36S because that's the image it's using. So it will replace the very important file that you need with the RG351 file, and it won't work. So then the fix is to replace that file. But a lot of people who made articles and videos are replacing it with the older version, which doesn't have function key support. So you want to replace it with the newer one, and there's a link to that. So I think this will help out a lot of people who use the R36S who updated it and it wasn't working. There's a few posts in the subreddit with people who had that problem. Thank you for the post. Another one here, I put this in updates. TechDweeb is a channel that I'm starting to like more and more the more I watch his content. He has sort of like a narrative feel to it. I might not necessarily like the products he's covering or am interested in the products, but I like his style. Anyways, he was covering the M17, and I believe there's a third iteration of the device, and I checked it out, and I was like, this is sort of appealing. Now, I wouldn't buy it from Lit NXT. I would buy it from AliExpress because it's $35 there. It's a lot cheaper. I understand why he linked the store, because the store sent him a free copy of the handheld, so they probably want their store link there. But yeah, I looked at it and it seemed like an okay device. Pretty much just think of it as a Miyoo Mini in a horizontal form factor. So it will play SNES and PlayStation 1 games. It might struggle with the Yoshi's Island and some 3D PS1 games, but it's $35 and it looks okay. There's an option there for you. So I think MIUI is working. There's some custom firmware Taki made. You can use either of those to improve the experience. I will say here one caveat, if you're buying anything that's shipping from China, I would either do it right now or do it later, because it's Chinese New Year soon, and what that means is everyone shuts down. So about anywhere from like a week before Chinese New Year's to a week after, you're looking at a 2-week period where no one's doing any work, And so all the orders are going to pile up, and then it's going to be a huge backlog to ship those items. So it's going to be very late, anywhere near February. I would probably wait until March to order. But yeah, if you're going to order anything, it's kind of like a crapshoot whether it's going to come out in time, and then there's going to be a delay when they do come back to work. So just letting everyone know, if you're going to order anything from China, just keep that in mind. It's not advertised most of the time. Okay, moving on here, we have the Retro Pocket 4 Pro grip review from Retro Game Core. And I'm glad he reviewed it because I always wonder, like, do these grips help? And the gist of it is, yeah, they do sometimes. If you use the analog sticks a lot, the grips help because it helps you lower your hand position to the point where it's comfortable to use the analog sticks. There are some drawbacks, mostly that it's not really a permanent solution, and it can come off a little easily. So if you want to check out the video, there it is from Retro Game Core. Okay, now moving on to user creations. I thought this was really dope. This is posted by Technical Surge. He added wireless charging to his RG353V. It always surprises me what people can do when they're really into modding these handhelds. So what he did was he took a cheap kit and then he added it to his RG353V. Now obviously you need to know how to solder, and I wouldn't recommend this mod for beginners, because if you do something wrong, you will damage your console. But yeah, I think it's pretty awesome. Okay, here we have a post from KPGC110. I just thought it looked really cool. It's Odin 2 with white buttons, and I think that looks really good. It's clean. The clear blue with the white. Ooh. Yeah, I mean, I would want one of those. Alright, here we have a post by DoggyWorld4082. He made a 3D printed case for your R33S, and he has the file below, right here. He's hooking people up with the files. So if you want to print your own file, you can print it. He did mention that the case doesn't touch the screen, but if you want it, you could put a piece of felt over it. Alright, moving on, we have user Apisani posting his review of the ROG Ally 2024, and this is where I'm going to showcase some new channels I found. Again, I know there's a lot of channels covering this stuff, but like, it's hard to find them if YouTube doesn't show the channels. Anyways, this guy did a pretty good job. His channel is CGD, and he reviewed the ROG Ally, and I think he made a pretty good video. It's very entertaining.
And YouTube and the World Wide Web.
So it's very hard to, you know, be on camera and be charismatic, as you can tell from my videos. The thing is, like, this is how I am. I'm just a boring person, and I don't really feel like faking a persona to be more quote-unquote interesting. I rather focus on the quality of the information I'm providing, if that makes sense. I don't know if it's high quality or not, but like, I have a different focus. I don't care about the lighting, I don't care about the backdrop, I don't care about how I look on camera. It's more about what I'm covering. But these guys, they do a very good job. You can tell that it's a really nice backdrop. The lighting looks good. You know, he's very good on camera. You want to check this person out. Now this channel, What's Ken Making, made a very nice teardown of the Ambernick Arc, and I really enjoyed watching this.
Recently released their new Sega shoulder buttons on most of these handhelds.
Yeah, there's a lot of these channels that do such a good job making content. I wish I was half as good, but you know, it is what it is. Alright, that's going to be it. One console I am looking forward to is the Miyoo Mini Flip. If you want, there's a spreadsheet here, retro gaming handheld spreadsheet. If you Google it, you can find it if you just type in retro gaming handhelds. I'll also link this down below. But it's a compilation of all the handhelds that have been announced, and they link all the sources. But as always, if the source is a retailer, they can always lie, so take everything with a grain of salt. But one console that is of note, other than the Miyoo Mini Flip, which I want to buy, is the ZPG A1 Unicorn, which seems like an updated RGB30 essentially. It's more powerful hardware, and they also link the possible prices. So 100 to 150 for an upgraded RGB30 sounds great. The Miyoo Mini Flip I'm looking forward to is supposed to be coming out in April, and it's going to supposedly be less than $100. So if you look at the spreadsheet, we can get an idea for the performance. and it's going to be on par with the RGB 10 Max 3. Essentially, it's going to be more powerful than the R33S. I think that's the console most people will be familiar with. So you're looking at a console that's more powerful than the R33S, can flip open, and has dual analog sticks. Now, the thing that people are worried about is that the hinge design is very difficult to do correctly. So we might be seeing hardware issues with the hinge breaking. But anyways, I'm excited for it. I like small vertical form factors. The horizontal form factors are always more comfortable to use. But in terms of like actually being portable and playing in short bursts, I favor something that's smaller and pocketable. Anyways, thank you so much for dropping by and watching. I really do appreciate it. The glare on my glasses is bothering me. I'll figure it out later. But yeah, hopefully enjoy what you saw. As always, hope you guys are staying safe and seeing out there, and I'll catch you guys next time.